Hi guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be all about nose contouring. So I have been getting a lot of comments on my previous nose contouring video that I made probably like a year ago, maybe over a year ago. For some reason that video blew up and I got a lot of views on it, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from it, but I've also gotten a lot of negative feedback for good reason, because there are a few mistakes that I made in that video that you guys are going to hear me talk about in a few minutes. Yeah, I have made a lot of improvements and I feel like my nose contouring game has improved quite a bit. So if you guys want to see how I get my nose to look like this, then just keep on watching. So as you guys can see, I have my foundation already on. So the first thing that I do is I just grab my concealer. I'm using the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer today, and this is in the shade Light Beige. I like to go about 2 or 3 shades lighter than my skin tone. And what I do is I just go underneath the eyes first. Now this part is nothing to do with actually contouring the nose, but this part, which is just drawing a line down the side of the nose, that is going to help slim the nose. So it basically just makes it look like your under eye continues on until this point, if that makes sense. So I'm going right on the sides of my nose, and on this side I'm going a little bit higher because my nose does go this way. I said this in my last video as well. My nose goes this way because I just had a soccer ball kicked to my face when I was younger, so it kind of made my nose start growing this way. So I like to make my nose look like it's sitting more in the center of my face. So the goal is to make your face look as symmetrical as possible, or your nose look as symmetrical as possible. So what I'm doing is trying to push my nose this way with makeup, I guess. So once I have both of these sides drawn on, I like to just take it straight down the middle, and you want to try to draw this line as straight as you can possibly get it. It's okay if it's a little sideways. You just kind of want that general line going down your nose. And now what I like to do is just kind of sit here and wait for it to dry up a little bit. I learned this trick from Jackie Aina. She does this so that her concealer gets a little bit tackier, and it just ends up with your concealer being a little more full coverage. So I like to wait about 2 or 3 minutes. Now this is where you could do one of two things. If you really want your concealer to have as much coverage as it could possibly have, go in with a brush. And if you don't really care, you just kind of want to blend it out and be out the door, you can go straight in with a sponge. What I like to do is do both. So I like to go in first with the brush because I want to have the maximum amount of coverage as I possibly can. So I like to go in with the brush first and then afterwards blend out the edges. By the way, this is the Morphe E8 brush. I love this brush for blending out concealer underneath the eyes. It does a really good job of just buffing in those edges without blending away too much of the product. And I leave the sides of the nose for the very last part because that is where I want most of the coverage to be. Because again, I am trying to make my nose look a bit smaller, so I want to make it as intense as possible. I don't know if this is making any sense, but I hope it is. And then once I have both under eyes blended out, that's when I will go on the sides of the nose and just barely go over the sides. I'm not trying to blend it away too much. I'm just trying to get that extra product off. Now I'm not going this way because I don't want to spread the product all the way across the nose, because then it's just going to make my nose completely white. So I'm going downwards and upwards, and that's it. I'm kind of going down this way towards my under eye. And I don't blend the top portion out with the brush because I find that it's a little too fluffy and it ends up spreading the concealer all the way across my nose. Now I'm picking up my sponge and I'm going to blend out my under eyes, and I'm just leaving this product here for as long as possible because I really don't want to move this around too much. And the drier the concealer is, the less it's going to move. So you want to let it sit there for as long as you possibly can, and then blend it out once you're done blending everything else out. So now that everything else is blended out, I'm going to blend out the bridge of the nose. I like to take the sponge and just pat it all the way down. Try not to move too much left and right. I go all the way down, and as you can see, I've picked up a lot of the product. So I don't want to go back in with this side because chances are I'm not going to go straight back onto it where this old product was. So what I'm going to do is just switch it. So now I'm going to be using the clean side that has no product on it, and I'm going to use that to blend out the rest of the concealer that's still sitting on my nose. I'm not someone who likes to do cream contouring because I feel like it makes the makeup just look 10 times cakier for some reason. I don't know, maybe I'm just not doing it right. But I personally prefer to do just powder contouring, especially on my nose, So what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and set my under eyes and set my nose and just basically set anywhere that I put the concealer. And for that, I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me Powder in the shade Light Medium. This is one of my all-time favorite powders. If you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that, and I've been using it for a very, very long time. So I'm just gonna go in with my sponge and just set my under eyes. And what I'm also doing with this is making sure that I have a little bit of product on here and just going on the side of the nose where we put those two harsh lines. This also just like reinforces that reverse contouring that we did earlier, and it just makes everything look really, really seamless. And then I also like to just go right down the center of my nose where we put the concealer there. And I also just drag whatever's left right over where we're going to be putting the contouring powders. And that's just because I don't want my skin to be sticky at all on my nose, because if it's sticky, the powder is just gonna stick in one place and it's not gonna blend as easily. In my last video, I gave you guys two options for what you could use for contouring your nose. One was more drugstore and one was more high-end. And for my drugstore option, I have the exact same option that I gave you guys last time, which was the NYX Highlight and Contour Palette. And the reason that I'm showing you guys this palette again is because I don't use this shade to contour anymore, because I just find that it's a little too cool toned for my liking. So I have switched over to this shade, but today I'm not going to be using this just because I did use it in my last video. So I want to show you guys something different, and that is actually an eyeshadow. It's from the Life's a Drag palette from Many MUA. I did do a video on this. If you want to see it, it's going to be here. And I like to mix Hunty and Sickening together to just create my perfect nose contouring color. For some reason, this has been working out really, really well for me, because this is super cool toned and this one is really, really warm. So when you mix the two, it just creates a perfect nose contouring color, for me at least. So that's what I'm going to be showing you guys today. If you guys watched my last video, you guys saw that I used this brush, which is not a makeup brush. You can't really find it anywhere. And someone in my last video mentioned that this is a brush that you can use to like cover up your roots or something. It comes in like one of those root covering kits, but I actually found a really nice dupe, one that you guys will have access to, and it's from Morphe, and it's the Morphe E47 brush, and it's just this slanted, really skinny, really flat brush. And I found that this is the closest match that I could find to it, and I have been obsessed with it ever since I got it. So this is what I'm going to be using today to kind of stamp on the contour shades. Now these shadows are really, really pigmented, so you want to go in with a light hand. I also like to like tap on the back of my hand once or twice. So now I'm just going to start stamping on the side of my nose. I like to start right here and work my way up. Like I said in my last video, you don't want to contour anywhere that you don't need contouring. And then on this side, since my nose is going this way, I'm trying to make it look like it goes this way. So I'm gonna kind of go on top of where my natural side of my nose is. I don't want to follow this line because that's doing absolutely nothing for me. So I'm gonna try to go about right here so that it makes my nose look a little bit skinnier. So now once I have these two lines on, I'm not dipping into any more product. I'm just taking whatever I have left and just drawing a line straight across the bottom. And what this is going to do is make my nose look shorter so it doesn't look quite as long. Obviously, if it's short, it's not long. And it just kind of lifts the nose to make it look like it's pointed upwards. So one mistake I used to make is just going in with a clean brush and starting to blend this away. If you got lucky, it would work sometimes, but most of the time it would just end up blending all the product away in that area, and all the foundation would move and it just would be a hot mess. So what I found that works best for me is if I dip back into the contour shadows that I'm using to kind of help blend that out a bit, it works a lot more. Just dipping into Hunty and Sickening again, very, very slightly. I'm not going in with like a whole lot of product, just very, very slightly, tapping off the excess again, blotting on the back of my hand again. And I'm just gonna take this and just start buffing these shadows in. And it's gonna look really scary at first, but if you just keep blending, it'll look good, I promise. And the way I like to blend is just in small circular motions like this. You never want to press too hard. And I just kind of flick the product downwards. You never want to blend it this way because that's just going to cover up the highlighted area that we put there earlier. Okay, and once you have all that blended out, you could stop here with the contouring, but I really want my nose to look as skinny as possible. So in order to do that, I'm taking more of the loose powder and I'm just going to put it onto my sponge. And I'm just going to bake the sides of my nose. And what this is going to do is just really clean up all that muddiness on the side and make it look as clean as possible. And I'm also going to take this down the center of my nose. Just like so. Normally after this step I like to finish off the rest of my face, so I'm gonna go do the rest of my face off camera and then I will come back to show you guys how we get a nice snatched, pinched nose. It's time to go ahead and wipe off the bake, and for this I'm just kind of using this small tulip brush. It's the Morphe M438. So now we're left with the illusion of a straighter, kind of skinnier nose, and I know it's not going to look 100% straight because it's not 100% straight. You could stop here if you want, but I'm gonna go on top with a little bit of highlight. Now I did get some hate on my last video for this because I put on way too much highlight on the tip of my nose. It kind of spread all the way to here. I didn't really notice it while I was doing it, but when I was editing the video I noticed it, and then I was like, whatever, no one's gonna watch my video anyway. But that video ended up doing really, really well, and it kind of got a lot of views, and so a lot of views equals a lot of comments, and some of them weren't so nice. So I wanted to kind of make this video in response to all that because my technique has changed, and I did notice that I put way too much highlight. And so yeah, we're gonna do it right this time, I promise. So for this step I'm taking the Maybelline Master Chrome in the shade Molten Gold. As you can see, I love this highlight. It's like the perfect shade for medium skin tones. So I just take a little bit on the tip of the brush, tap off the excess, and then go right on top. I don't actually go where my tip is. I kind of go a little bit above it so that it makes my nose look a little bit more lifted. So I'm just gonna go a little bit above where I put it last time. And what that does is it just lifts the nose up a little bit and makes it look like it's a little bit higher than it actually is. Just like that. And then I go down the bridge right here. And this also just emphasizes the bridge of the nose, which makes it look longer and less wide, which also helps in like pinching your nose and making it look smaller. All right, you guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope you guys found it helpful. Honestly, not much has changed since the last time I made this video, but there are a few things that I feel like are key steps that I have changed in order to really improve my nose contouring game. And be sure to let me know if you guys try this out and if you find it helpful. Hopefully you guys are happy with it this time and people don't call me the highlighted Rudolph. That's rude. But I wouldn't mind being a highlighted Rudolph, you know, I feel like that'd be kind of cute. No? Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.